Okay, we're gonna get started with the Boho blue card. This card will open this way. All the cards are gonna open that way, actually. This card is pretty simple. There's not much stamping, and it's mainly just using the one stamp from the Timeless Arrangements. So here's the Timeless Arrangement stamp set. You're mainly, for most of the cards, using some of the sayings. There's one card that uses one of the flowers for you to color and has a little bit of technique, but most of these cards can be put together pretty quickly. As I showed in the unboxing videos, all of your cards are going to come complete. Now my set doesn't have the DSP in there yet. I will have to do that. Stand by. I have that. I have mine separately here because it was all cut up separately. So let me pull out the cards that we need for this one here. In your sample, your yellow stripes is already cut down to size, but I'll have to cut that. Basically, all you're going to do is stamp your image on here, and then you're going to assemble. I used dimensionals a lot. That didn't come with the kit. If you ordered an adhesive package, you got some coming in there, or you can actually, if you have them, use them. It's up to you. But the way that this works is once you've stamped your image, you're just gonna layer these underneath where you want them. I actually prefer to use green tip glue for these because I feel like the green tip glue just makes it easy. One thing to remember is a little goes a long way when using the green tip glue. I'm gonna get mine out here. I wasn't very prepared when I got on here today, so I apologize for that. I'm gonna pull my block out. We're probably just gonna use the same blocks for all of the cards. Before I venture on to the next card, I'll do a separate video for each one. I will be much better prepared, but just kind of dove in and felt like, oh, I can just go ahead and start. So out of the Timeless Beauty, if you don't have, or the Timeless Arrangements, if you don't have this stamp set, you can use anything that fits. If you don't have the ink colors, you can use black, anything that fits, or black, any color that works. If you just want to use black ink pads, it doesn't have to be exactly like this. So one thing you can tell, and I'm going to bring this up close so you can see, is the front side, you don't see any bumps from the die cutting. On the back side, you're going to see the bumps. If all else fails and you make an error, great, you can use both sides, but this is the intentional side. I've attached my stamp to my block. The Polymer stamps fit really well on the block. If you haven't stamped with Polymer yet, I actually really love them. You should always have a foam piece under it. Just stamps a little bit better because it doesn't have the cushioning that the old wood stamps had. So I'm just going to ink up, lightly tap my pad, make sure it looks good. If I wanted to practice, I could stamp off here. And when you stamp, you just straight down, straight up. So we're just going to go in here. This just needs to be centered. Great thing about these Polymer stamps is you can really tell. Look at that. How easy was that? Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and close this up. And then I'm going to start my assembly. Okay. So my favorite thing about the dies that coordinate with this stamp set is that they have these little bars. And I got to tell you that I had just done a swap not too long ago that had a bunch of dies and it didn't have all this, and I have to tell you, I absolutely love this. So just put it on there. A little, like I said, a little goes a long way. I'm just gonna pop it on the back. And then the same thing. So I want, the one that I want to show up first is the one that I'm gonna put on first. So I want this mauve to show up first. So I'm gonna put that one on first. And then I'm gonna coordinate where I put the little weeds. This is in the wheat, and that probably was a little too much glue. Like I said, a little goes a long way. And just pop that on there, and I'm just gonna let that set aside to dry. Okay, so now I want to assemble my card. And like I said, the one piece was not cut, so I will have to cut that, but I will start by making sure this fits. You can see it's slightly too big, so I'm just going to take my trimmer and I'm going to trim it down just a tad. So because I want to do this really thin border, I'm only going to take 1/8 off, and you can decide where you want it. So right now looks like it's 4 inches, so I'm going to take it down to 3 7/8. Move my scoring blade out and just click that up. And same thing, I tried to get everything as close as I could for you, so it's 5 1/4, so take it down to 5 1/8. But if I missed it, I'm sorry. Yours are probably cut all right. Mine were just cut directly from just having the DSP. They weren't trimmed down. Okay, so just a little thin line of the green tip glue. It's called the liquid glue. I just have always called it green tip glue. But it's kind of nice because when you're putting it down, you can kind of measure it and move it around. Okay. Now, if you notice on this card, the ribbon goes around here. And I'm just going to take a peek under here to see, did I make that ribbon go all the way down? I think I did. I did. Sometimes I do a little cheat on one of the cards that might have a cheat. My ribbon's still on the roll, yours is not. So I'm going to take my herringbone ribbon here, and this is a little bit different than the sample. I did the samples before I had my orders, so I was just using what I had, but I wanted to get you guys something current so you could play with the new stuff. And this is the cotton herringbone. It's really pretty. And this is just a simple little knot. And I'm going to go ahead and trim. And trim. So this piece is about 5 1/4. So if you think about that, if you cut off, and I would just do it from your long strip of ribbon so that you don't overcut, but if you feel the need to cut it, it's 5, 10, plus I allowed 6 inches to tie this knot. So 5, 10, 16 inches would be enough for that. So now I'm going to assemble. I need to grab my other piece of yellow. It needs to be cut down to fit this. So this piece is 2 1/8. So I'm gonna make this 1 7/8 because it looks like it's about a 1/4 inch border because it's got a little wider border. So I'm just gonna line it up, 1 7/8. Trim it and put my extra aside. Okay, move that aside. And I'm going to layer. Okay. Now, if you notice, I messed up because my ribbon should have gone over the yellow stripes on my sample, but that's all right because the ribbon's not glued down. I'll be able to fit this right underneath it. And it's not using any dimensionals, so I'll just add a little glue to the top on one side, and then I'll go and add more. So all I'm gonna do is just take that and lift it up, put it where I want it, and then I'll add a little glue underneath there so I didn't get glue everywhere, because I could be a messy stamper. Okay, so you have that. You can adjust where you want your knot. I'm gonna move it over a little bit to accommodate. Now, if you notice on my sample, this is where the dimensionals come into play. You can see that I have a little raised there. You can do dimensionals as you please. You can raise them, not raise them, totally up to your discretion. Because this is what's on top of my pile, I'm using the smaller dimensionals. If you ordered the adhesive pack, you got the bigger dimensionals. So I'm just gonna throw a couple on here. I always recommend putting one in the middle too, because we don't want no saggy middles. I'm My friend Rhonda, if she's watching, she'd be so proud of me for saying that. No saggy middles. So we're going to take that and we're just going to center it on this boho blue piece. It's on there. And then now to make this stick, you're going to want to put the adhesive right on the top because it's not going to really do well with the ribbon. So I put a little row top and bottom, and that will center it right over that ribbon. Move your tail out of the way and then just push it down. You could also use dimensionals there if you wanted to use dimensionals to make it a little bit easier. I might actually go and throw some underneath there if it's giving me a hard time, which it kind of is. So I'll just throw a dimensional in each corner. The dimensionals are not going to stick well to the ribbon, so you don't always have to do this exactly like I did it, but just a little bit like that. Okay, so there, now that's on there. Now it's ready to go onto your card front, and that also had dimensionals. So again, I'm just gonna stick one, and then in my next video I'm gonna find the bigger dimensionals and save these for projects that had a little ones. And because I got this big old wide ribbon, I'm gonna put one on each side. Okay. Awesome. Well, now your card is all done. Look at how cute that is. It didn't take me hardly any time. It's super cute and easy. Sorry, there's Tucker. He's barking. He's here to protect me. But anyways, all completed. You do want to make your envelopes cute too. So I recommend taking a strip of maybe like a 2x6 of one of your extra DSPs that match. So out of the extra paper you got, and then gluing it on with green tip glue, and then you can just trim the extra off. The reason I say 2x6 is this is a little bit longer. This is actually about 2 1/4. But if you just glue it on to the top of the fold, then you can trim it off. It has a square edge. There's still adhesive to close your envelope there. And it's a good use of your DSP because we don't want any naked envelopes. So that is card 1. That I really appreciate you, Boho Blue.